So I put the file in like a YouTube link, and then I share it.
Okay. Excellent.
Or if I can give
Okay, good.
the,
Oh, recording.
we don't have anybody here yet, so.
But the audio is be there. What should we do?
Okay. No, I was trying to see if
So,
more
do
people.
you want to pretend that people are coming?
I'm
People are
a
here.
Benny. Can you do one more like the
Can
artist talk?
everybody move? Take one step back so everybody in the back can do that.
Can you ask the people who are not in the back right now to see if more people are going to join the people in the back for the artist talk?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they are? Okay.
All right.
All right.
Doesn't matter. We just need to
Just go with
have
it.
the audio.
So
Yeah.
I want to welcome everybody to 5 Points Art Gallery and Studios. Welcome for the first time. This is your first time in the space, and welcome back if this is multiple times in the space. I want to introduce the featured artist today, who is Emmett Williams. Emmett has worked with the gallery in different facets. Emmett has a background in film and photography with a more of a focus in documentary work. His exhibition today is called The Wait, but he did exhibit in a group show earlier this year, our annual This is America show, in which he featured some preliminary stuff to what we're going to be talking about and displaying for the 2 months to close out the year here at the gallery. So I want to welcome Emmett again. I want to welcome all you. As always, we like the space to be inclusive, welcoming, relaxed. And so this is not a lecture series. This is a time to engage directly with the artist. Oftentimes people don't have that luxury or privilege because artists, are not always local, and get to know exactly how the artist's brain works, humanize the artist, but also, probe and ask questions about the work that sometimes can be more abstract and in nature. So do not wait to the end of the talk to ask questions. Feel free to jump in at any time and ask away. So I'll start it off so people feel comfortable and then jump in. Emmett, tell us what the Wait is.
The Wait is a multimedia exhibition. There's a video installation over there, and behind there's photos. And basically what happened is, like 5 or so years ago, I was traveling through South Carolina with a white friend, and we both, it was like at sunset, and we both saw this amazing tree, and immediately we both had these very opposite reactions to it. And we had just been having this conversation about what it's like being a freelancer, photographer, filmmaker. And they said, you should take photos of trees, as if like I should, sell huge photos of like beautiful trees. And all I could think from that moment on was like, being in the South, I wondered if anybody had ever been lynched there. And that's so every large tree that I saw from that moment on, all I could think was what violence had happened there. And so that's when I started putting this together. And at first, it was supposed to be called The Trees of South Carolina, because I thought that I would be able to find trees everywhere, but the trees rarely exist anymore. And so they are, like, as you can see in the thing, there are railroad tracks, there's neighborhoods, there's bridges. In St. Louis, one of the places is a Hooters. So that's what I came across. And so it made me think more about like our relationship to place and the things we see every day based on what you know about the place. And so I've been filming and photographing places ever since. The photos that you see behind us are from the one known lynching that happened in Milwaukee.
And which is where we are. And how did you come about finding that location? What's your process on researching and finding locations?
Well, for the videos section, I actually came across a PhD student at Duke, who has like hundreds and hundreds in a spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. He did it for his like some school project. He's connected to the Red Record, which you can find online, okay. And it just has so many places where people were lynched. And so I found him, and he sent me this spreadsheet. So I have hundreds and hundreds of locations around the country where people were lynched. So that's how I found that. The Milwaukee one, only in the last year, it was the memorial has gone up. So that was easy to find.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you say a little bit about the red record?
The Red Record is an online,
Like a database?
yeah, it's like a database, but it's not very specific. Like it'll show you sort of the general area of where somebody was lynched, and it goes by state, but it doesn't have like I have the latitudes and longitudes, so I will like put the latitude and longitude into a Google map and just follow it until then. But the Red Record is a great resource, but it's just sort of like a red dot in a general area. But it's like with all these things, it's heartbreaking.
I was going to say, how
yeah.
does it impact you when you see all the red dots or just see this ledger
Yeah.
of documented ones? Because
Yeah.
as we know, a lot of stuff doesn't get documented.
Yeah.
And so how does that impact you?
It's I do a lot of, like, all of my documentary film work is all sort of social justice. So I've interviewed people right after their children were murdered. I have like interviewed farmers in like Zambia who were like, I don't know when it's going to rain, so I don't know how I can keep farming. This is the only project where it breaks me. So I can spend like 45 minutes doing it, and then I have to stop because I have so many details about what happened to people, and it's too hard.
Is it
sometimes.
more personal to you than some of the other ones? I know is this more personal to you? And then how do you create that space doing documentary where you're not getting overly involved and being like, I guess you have to be like objective in a way, or do you not? Is there a way to be objective?
I think if you are telling the stories of your ancestors, for me, I almost feel like a obligation to honor them, tell their story, make sure that their story isn't forgotten. And so a lot of my work is about place and wanting people to see things differently. Like I like to, I have a hard time not showing really long cuts. Like I would love everybody to watch like an hour of just like one place. And then, but nobody wants to do that, but that's what I would love to do. So for me, I really want people to find a way to see their daily lives different and the places that they come across differently.
Question?
Yeah.
That's okay.
No.
So how do you do the hard part of editing? And then I know for your practice, it's common, like technical editing, but in other like painting, like there is still like the concept of editing. When do you know when to stop, what to include, what detail to highlight, what to extract or erase?
It's a mix of what I want to see and what I think other people want to see. And I don't know that I get it right, but because I would happily watch like a 4-hour black and white documentary from Botswana that's just like, trees moving and people walking down the street. But so I have to sort of stretch it as long as I can until I feel like people get bored. And so that's why there's lots of text in this, so people can sort of relate to what is happening on the screen. Yeah.
Where are the I know we mentioned Milwaukee in the still photographs, but what areas or cities are being captured in the?
There are 2 from St. Louis and 1 from Moulton, Alabama, and 1 from Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
In this one, but I have dozens and dozens of videos and photos from different places around the country, and yeah.
So how do you decide what to pair?
This one, I got really lucky with this one because in the Moulton, Alabama one, there's some police cars and people sort of react to that. And I wanted, and so usually you think, and the train with the noise of the train, I thought was something that could carry through the whole thing. And one of them in St. Louis, there's a black family that's walking across, like they just had like a day out doing something fun with the kids. So I thought that was interesting. And then I also, a lot more people were hung from bridges than you think, or maybe you know that, but there are a lot of bridges. And so the idea of hundreds, thousands of people driving across this bridge every day and not knowing what happened there, I think, is what I was trying to connect to.
So I don't know what your beliefs are, but
Mm.
me
Mm-hmm.
inhabiting an old funeral home, one of the constant questions like, do you see things? Do you feel spirits and all that stuff? I'm like, I respect the dead. Yep, I think there's stuff that goes on here. Nothing negative as far as spiritual wise, or I don't know if I'm in tune enough. There, like lights used to flicker sometimes, and then I would talk to like a picture, like, "What are you trying to tell me, grandfather?"
Mm-hmm.
Or some people like a door would close sometimes, or some people say they can feel certain things
Right.
because you're in like these areas
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
these spirits were taken from somebody or
Mm-hmm.
some bodies. Do
Yeah.
you feel that? Have you had
Wha-
any experiences like that?
When I first started, I did. Um, like I remember the very first one that I ever did that's not included in the show because I was looking. I didn't know. I was looking for trees basically, and it was on the one side was a old black cemetery,
Mm.
and on the other side was just like this, like trees and brush that had not been taken care of, and then these two young African American kids walked by, and it was just a lot of to take in, and then it felt like the area had not been taken care of and had been sort of let go a little bit, and it felt like it felt like this if there was like a spirit like this, nothing had changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever was happening back then when that person was lynched, it's still happening now.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens, and then I have way too many details about things, and so um, there are just some really awful things that happen to people, and then I feel more of a like, oh, I need to be doing this. Like it breaks you, but it also like inspires you to keep going.
So we're in like a time or era of like open admission and open acceptance of mental health
Mm.
and therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a process or practice related to that to keep
I,
doing this?
I take a lot of walks, and I also go see a lot of movies. There's something about going and see any movie where like I can escape and just sort of like stop thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mainly walks. I take a lot of walks, and I also do things for me also. Like I don't know I have an example right now, but you just have to take care of yourself and do like fun things and not always art things, not always work things.
Mm-hmm.
That helps me a lot. Maybe I'll get a therapist soon,
So
but for right now, right now,
professional help,
no professional help right
but you do
now.
actively.
Yeah, yeah,
You
I'm
know,
very aware of being like, okay, this is too much, and I'll just like shut down for a day or two, which is a gift that I'm able to do that.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll just stop sometimes. Yeah,
So you said you had a lot of details on each.
of the lynchings. Yeah, because the person who collected the question that was asked is about the details that I have, and I have the spreadsheet has not for every lynching, but it will have like the name of the person, what happened to them, where it happened, city and county, and then details, and if there's a link to it, like an article, I have that information also.
Birmingham. I grew up. I grew up in
Okay,
Birmingham.
I could send you all that. People ask for it all the time, so
I grew up
yeah.
just outside of Birmingham.
Okay, yeah, Birmingham. Traveling through that's another thing. Like traveling through St. Louis doesn't you don't feel the weight of things, but
I got that.
but yeah, you see what I did there? But like in Alabama, because so much of Alabama feels like you're traveling back in time. Like in Moulton, Alabama, where the one in the bottom right, or no, the top right is, that place feels like things haven't changed as much as you wish they did. Yeah, um, yeah, yeah, exactly.
A little off topic. I had a recent discussion with somebody trying to determine if St. Louis or Missouri is technically the South
Oof.
or the North.
I think it's both.
And I was like, it's both. I feel like there's some cutoff.
Yeah. Yeah, there were people on both sides, and it was like it fought with the South or something like that, but it was yeah, I think it's both. And I
Okay.
mean, but now it's both. You know, now it's like
What are you as a natural born Southerner? What do you say? Did you?
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
it was always the.
yeah. But when I go back, people sometimes have like a Southern accent. I'm like,
They have a
is this
very.
where
I went to school in
came?
St. Louis.
Yeah,
The her.
yeah,
I'm like, oh, the little kids. I worked
yeah,
with kids. I'm like, oh, they really do talk like that.
yeah.
Say this word.
Yeah.
Any questions from the audience while we?
While you were recording for long periods of time, did you experience any conflict?
No, I was worried when, like, if you see in the Molten one, there are police drive by, and I was thought maybe something was happening then. There were a few of the early ones that weren't so cinematic that I didn't want to keep. I have a few people that I tell where I am, and I have them track me, because there was the second one maybe that I ever did. It was like a what's it called, the rebel flag, stars and stripes.
The Confederate.
Yeah, the Confederate
Okay.
flag. The place where I had to film was like a Confederate flag on one side of the street and a bunch of like huge Trump thing on the other side of the street. And I was like, this is a terrible idea. And so from then on, like I have people track me, and I say, like, if I don't check in a half an hour, I'm doomed. And yeah, yeah.
In your work, are there any surprising things that have happened, or any things that just kind of stay with you?
I think it's the reaction when I start to tell the reason why I do it. I don't want to say 100%, but like when you even start to talk about a large tree in the South, every single Black person is like, "Oh, I get what's about to happen in this story," and white people take a little bit longer, and that's just like the reason to do it, is that there is this different relationship with space based on what you know, what you don't know, what you choose to know, um, and that's been a constant, and so that has been really interesting. No matter where I go, no matter who I talk to about it, there's an immediate connection. Like we're like Black people, we're seeing it. We're seeing every space differently than white people, and that's what this is about.
Have you interviewed people from the South? Like, I know when I drive through the South, I'm thinking I'm like imagining the slave trying to get, and like kind of in vain of what you're talking about. Is that a constant on that? It's just like, or what it is, it was what it was. Because I'm like, it gets heavy for me, and I'm like trying to get myself out of this thought, like, oh, my ancestors, my grandparents, they came from this area, or like their parents, and
Yeah,
then the images of like the lynchings or what have you. And I'm like, how do you exist without feeling those spirits and that having
I,
that plague your mind? You
I don't
have
think
to.
I don't think you have to not experience it. I think it's okay to like it's impossible not to. I think if you go to a lot of places around the world, like the history of that place is gonna stay with you. And so like driving around Alabama, driving to Moulton from Huntsville or I'm not sure where, but driving to Moulton, my friend who was driving me, she's like, sundown town, sundown town, sundown town, and she like tells really recent stories of being uncomfortable in those places. And so I think if you're Black, you can't help but and I don't know that you shouldn't acknowledge history. I think that's okay.
I had an experience 3 years ago where I got off the highway headed in Birmingham to avoid the traffic, and I was followed from the time I came into the town
Mm-hmm.
to like exit, which was like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm driving down country road, and this guy looked up, saw us, got behind us, and followed us. And As soon as when we cross civilians to this town, it's not.
Yeah.
And people think that's like in the past, but this is like current.
It's in places outside of Birmingham, outside of Louisville. They're still thinking in atmosphere. They have been for years. There's
Yeah.
no reason to change. There's very few black people.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to do a project. I forgot what it's called. It had a really great name, but it was basically talking about how if cell phones didn't exist, so much. I mean, up until cell phones and videos existed, so much of this stuff like way more stuff of this stuff happened than we ever will never know about with police, with just whoever. And so, I mean, there's like things like maybe some laws and cell phones that are keeping violence from happening, maybe, but
So it's a gift and a curse.
yeah.
In the video, the last frame is the weight, and then it says chapter 1.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So I have the dream scenario is that this is 3 chapters.
Okay.
Should I describe what the second chapter is?
Yeah.
What I want to do is completely fill the walls of a gallery to be named
got
later.
That too.
And what I want to do is it's about the middle passage, and what I want to do is fill the room with people floating in the ocean, staring right directly into the camera, so the audience has a relationship with the person that's floating. And there's dozens or hundreds of these screens, and then as the video goes along, they sink. And so there's people sinking through like randomly throughout the thing. And then the chapter 3 is going to be filmed in Ghana, and it's something about running. I'm not completely sure what it is yet, but yeah.
Is there a thread through the 3, or is it just like?
It's just our experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
More of a diasporic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So outside of the heaviness of your work or this specific project, what are some other things you like doing? Some other talents, some other skills? What are things you're exploring? Or projects too within a.
Yeah, I've got I've got a documentary that's traveling around the country right now about infant maternal mortality in the African American community called Sister Doula, and that's going to be showing here at some point. And then I'm making a film about Black farmers in New Mexico, and I've got another film. What is that one about? Black farmers. I'm making another film. I don't remember what it is. That's weird. Oh no, Black skateboarders, Black farmers, and I'm producing a film about Black skateboarders from the 70s.
Okay.
So like when skateboarding began, you sort of only hear like
about
the white kids, and so there's this whole culture of like Black kids, and so we start filming that soon. So I'm doing that, and then I get asked to do sort of African American film programming around the country, so I'm doing a bunch of that. So there's a few things going to be traveling around the country, and also in St. Louis, I do it there.
Okay.
And so some programming, and then I do a lot of teaching. I teach sort of Black and Latino kids how to make documentaries, and the idea is like through an anti-racist lens, and so it's them like. It's teenagers like confronting racism in how they experience it, and teach them how to make documentaries through that.
How do you teach anti-racism?
Oh, part 2 will be tomorrow. The kids, sadly, they have so many of the same stories that we do and our elders do, and they confront them head on, and it's about them just sort of being able to say what they want to say. Yeah.
Any more questions from the audience?
I'm sorry, now I just want to say, you commented earlier on white people and then Black people having a different connection to land. While you were saying, I just wanted to share with you I'm a teacher educator, and so I was working with a group of like teacher cohort that'll be working in indigenous schools. And one of my white male students chose to use an image of someone being hung, not a black person, but someone being hung or having committed suicide for I forget what text. And he honestly did not understand. I said, so you white men are gonna go take this into school with black kids and you don't like you haven't thought about, what they might see. He was like, I honestly I just thought, Romeo and Juliet or something. We were looking at Shakespeare or something. He had no thought or care.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for like not everybody who does something stupid is bad. Like and sometimes they need to be taught. Sometimes they should just know, and sometimes they're just like choosing to be misinformed. And I don't know where like the line is, but I also know like I did a lot of work around Ferguson, and people who are from Black Lives Matter who are like really involved with it, and they're so tired of teaching white people how to be smart. And so they're like, read a book, Google something.
I started saying that. I mean, I've had exhibitions here. One was an earlier exhibition, and I had two black male artists. One was very young; he was going into college, and one was a professor, and so had children and stuff already. And what was it called? Arrested Development, I think it was called. Both of them are talking about the same stuff, being like subjected to police brutality and oppression and all that stuff. The younger one, as in like true form, his work was more erratic. Kind of, I don't like to reference him. He probably similar to Basquiat, like, And the other one was considered more painterly. So it was solid background, but just naked male men with no detail. And one guest commented, "Oh, I don't like this younger artist. He's angry. He's this. He's this. He's this. Oh, I like the older guy's work. It's so beautiful. He's on a higher spiritual level." And he didn't recognize that the older male's work was documenting the men in positions of arrest and brutality, like with their arms up and everything. And I said, but they're talking about the same thing. It's like a father-son dialogue going on between the two rooms. And he's like experienced things for the first time. So yeah, he's a little bit more upset. The other one is upset too, but he's trying to play that role.
Yeah.
But the fact that the worlds they can't identify certain things at all.
Yeah.
And then the teaching, and then without that teaching, like the strongly negative associations that they have, which is damaging.
Sure.
And so it gets exhausting.
It does get exciting, but like I always tell the story about a friend I've known since I was a kid, and I sort of became politically aware of things in college, and so he had to listen to me being like, "That's sexist, that's racist," without just like yelling at everybody. And then like 30 years later, he's like, "I get what you were saying, like." So it worked. Like, you can teach people, but you don't want to. You just get tired. Like during George Floyd, the number of white people who called me to say like, "What can I do?" I was like, I don't know.
Do you feel like the token?
Yeah, well, in part 3, yeah, I do get asked. I think people feel safe because I'm like ethnically ambiguous and people don't know like what to do, and so it goes from like really like shitty things that people have said when I was younger. They're like, "You're not really black," to like people being comfortable being like, "Hey, can you do this black thing for us?" So like companies will like hire me to be like their tokens sponsor or like curate some spokesperson or like curate something. And I mean, I'm still getting paid and it's like, and for the most part they have like the right intentions, so it's better than somebody I don't trust doing it. Yeah.
What is part 4?
Part 4. Part 4 is us saying goodbye.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to thank Emmett for, sharing his time, and the audience for engaging Emmett in this artist talk, and, coming to this opening reception. We have a couple events going on at the same time, so, we apologize for some possible disruption.
But we have this video.
We do have this video.
Account of this evening, and so this will live on forever.
It will, in infamy.
In infamy.
Because it's weighty.
Okay.
But yeah, this show will take us until the end of the year. It closes on December 24th. And so people are welcome to engage and come back and forth until then. And then, if any questions arise.
I mean, we should do this again.
We will do it again.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right.